The message came on a Tuesday. Dr. Alan Miller was drinking his third cup of coffee when the signals started pouring in. At first, he thought there was something wrong with NASA's Deep Space Radio Telescope. The patterns were too regular, too intentional to be cosmic background noise. "Susan, you need to see this," Alan called to his colleague. Dr. Susan Grant rushed over, her eyes widening as she looked at the screen. As the top linguist on the project, she immediately recognized what they were seeing. "That's a language pattern. Someone is talking to us." For the next 48 hours, they barely left their workstation. The message repeated itself, growing stronger as whatever was sending it moved closer to Earth. By Wednesday night, they had the first rough translation. "It's a warning," Susan said, her voice almost a whisper. "Someone called the Galactic Council is warning us about an invasion." Alan looked at the translation again. According to the message, a species called the Vraxians were coming to Earth. They were described as conquerors who took resources from worlds they considered primitive. The Council, whoever they were, said they couldn't help directly because of their rules about not interfering with developing planets. "We need to call the president," Alan said. 3 days later, leaders from around the world gathered at the United Nations. Many didn't believe the message was real. Some thought it was a trick or a misunderstanding. "How do we know this isn't some elaborate hoax?" asked the British Prime Minister. The French president nodded, or perhaps a misinterpretation of scientific data. The debate might have gone on for days if not for what happened next. The large screens in the meeting room suddenly displayed images from space telescopes around the world. Strange ships, hundreds of them, had appeared at the edge of our solar system. The room fell silent. "Those are not ours," said the Russian president finally. General Frank Rogers stepped forward. "Based on their speed and trajectory, they'll reach Earth's orbit in 5 days. The President of the United States stood up. "Then we have 5 days to prepare for humanity's first interstellar war." The next few days were a blur of activity. Around the world, military forces were put on high alert. Scientists worked around the clock to understand the alien technology they might face. Regular people stocked up on food and supplies, or simply hugged their loved ones closer. In a secret military base, Dr. Carol White examined the data from the approaching fleet. "Their energy signatures suggest weapons far beyond our capabilities," she told the assembled military leaders. "But every technology has weaknesses. We just need to find theirs." At NASA, Alan and Susan continued studying the message from the Galactic Council, hoping to find any information that might help. "There's something strange here," Susan said on the 4th day. "The Council seems almost curious about how we'll respond, like they're expecting something." Alan frowned. What could they possibly expect? We're centuries behind these Vraxians technologically. "Maybe it's not about technology," Susan replied thoughtfully. Far away, in a vast chamber that existed in a dimension humans could barely comprehend, 12 beings of various forms sat around a circular table. Projected in the center was a small blue planet. "The Vraxian fleet will reach Earth tomorrow," said a tall, crystalline being. "Are we certain we should not intervene?" An elder member with skin like flowing mercury shook his head. "The non-interference directive is clear. Besides, the humans should have the chance to show what they can do." "But they are merely a level 3 civilization, facing a level 5 invader," protested another counselor. "They cannot possibly win." The elder's expression might have been a smile. "Don't be so sure. There's a reason we've kept our distance from Earth all these centuries. The Vraxians are about to find out why." On Earth, as the alien fleet drew closer, humanity prepared for a fight unlike any in its history. No one knew what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was certain: Earth would not fall without a battle. The first Vraxian ships appeared in Earth's orbit early on a Monday morning. They were sleek and dark, shaped like arrowheads pointed at Earth's heart. 3 scout vessels, moving faster than anything humans had ever built. Captain Eric Daniels stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's newest space defense vessel. It had been rushed into service just 2 days ago, its weapons barely tested. "Should we open fire, sir?" asked his weapons officer, a young woman named Lisa Clark. Eric shook his head. "Not yet. We try to talk first." He nodded to his communications specialist, who sent out a message in all known formats. "This is Captain Eric Daniels of Earth Vessel Defiant. We request peaceful communication." The response came 20 seconds later in the form of a bright beam that sliced through 2 satellites nearby. "Evasive action," Eric shouted. The Defiant rolled away just as another beam cut through the space where they had been. The scout ships did not pursue. Instead, they moved into a higher orbit, scanning Earth's defenses. "They're taking our measure," Eric said quietly. "Get me the Pentagon." Far away in the Galactic Council observation chamber, 12 alien representatives watched events unfold on a large 3-dimensional display. First blood to the Vraxians, noted a blue-skinned counselor named Mithran. "As expected," replied another with feathers instead of hair. Counselor Zixta, the eldest member with skin like flowing mercury, leaned forward. "Did you notice the Earth vessel's restraint? They could have fired but chose to attempt communication instead." "A sign of weakness," scoffed a counselor with 4 arms. "Or wisdom," countered Zixta. "These Vraxians don't know what they're getting into. Has no one told them about Earth's history?" Back on Earth, at the Pentagon, military leaders from around the world reviewed the footage from the brief encounter. "They're testing us," said General Rogers. "The main fleet is still 2 days out. These scouts are gathering intelligence." Dr. Carol White was studying data from the scout ship's weapons. "There's something interesting here," she said, pointing to energy readings. "Their weapons operate on a narrow frequency band. That might give us an opening." "Explain," ordered the general. "Every weapon has a weakness," Carol said. "Theirs might be vulnerable to certain electromagnetic frequencies. I need to run more tests, but we might be able to disrupt their targeting systems." She turned to her team. "Get me everything we have on electromagnetic countermeasures. We have less than 48 hours. At NASA, Alan and Susan continued analyzing communications from both the Galactic Council and what little they had intercepted from the Vraxians. "The Vraxians believe this will be easy," Susan said. "Their language has no words for uncertainty or defeat when discussing this invasion." Alan looked grim. "They think we're primitive, easy prey." "Maybe we can use that," Susan suggested. "Overconfidence makes you careless." In low Earth orbit, the Vraxian scouts continued their surveillance. Inside the lead ship, Commander Drek prepared his report for the main fleet. "The humans possess rudimentary space defense capabilities," he communicated. "Their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. We detected some nuclear weapons, but nothing that can threaten our main vessels." His second-in-command added, "They attempted communication rather than immediate defense, a sign of weakness and fear." Commander Drek made his final assessment. "This will be an easy conquest. Recommend standard invasion protocol." Back in the council chamber, Zixta shook his head. "They're underestimating humanity." "A grave mistake." Counselor Kelnera, the archive specialist, pulled up Earth's file. "Perhaps we should review Earth's history for the benefit of newer council members, particularly their wars." The display shifted to show images from Earth's past. Battles, innovations, and most importantly, humanity's remarkable ability to adapt and overcome seemingly impossible odds. "Humans call themselves peaceful," Kelnera explained, "but they have fought more wars against themselves than most species fight against others. And each time, their technology leaps forward at unprecedented rates." Zixta nodded solemnly. "The Vraxians believe they're facing a Level 3 civilization. What they don't understand is that when threatened, humans don't behave like any other species in the galaxy." As Earth prepared for the coming battle, Captain Eric Daniels returned to the Defiant with new orders. He didn't know if Earth could win against such advanced technology, but he knew one thing for certain. The Vraxians had made a serious mistake. They had threatened humanity's home. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Kelnera, the archive specialist, brought up Earth's complete file. The 12 council members leaned forward, their eyes fixed on the display. Earth has been under observation for over 2,000 years, Kelnera explained. Though humans have only achieved spaceflight recently, their rate of technological advancement is unusual. The display showed images from human history, stone tools giving way to bronze, then iron, then steel. Simple machines becoming complex ones. The first airplane, then just 50 years later, a human walking on their moon. Most species take twice as long to make similar progress, noted Counselor Mithran. That is not the most interesting part, Kelnera continued. Observe their response to threats. The display shifted to show wars throughout human history. The council members watched as humans adapted to each new challenge with remarkable speed. They learned during conflict at an accelerated rate, Zix Tao explained to the newer council members, and they are incredibly creative when cornered. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably as they watched Earth's military forces mobilizing in response to the Vraxian scouts. They are uniting, observed a counselor with 6 eyes. Most divided planets surrender when faced with superior technology. Humans are different, Zix Ta said simply. Back on Earth, Major Paul Bennett led a small team through the Arizona desert. The night was cool and clear, perfect for their mission. There, whispered his second-in-command, pointing to a dark shape half buried in the sand. A Vraxian scout ship had crashed during its surveillance mission. No one knew if it was shot down or suffered a mechanical failure. What mattered was that it was mostly intact. Paul signaled his team to move forward. They wore special suits designed to protect against unknown biological threats. As they approached the ship, Paul noticed something strange. The hull is damaged, he said over the radio, but not from the crash. These look like impact points from micrometeorites. Their shields must have failed, replied Dr. Chris Warren, the scientist assigned to the team. Maybe their technology isn't as advanced as we thought. They found a way inside through a tear in the hull. The ship's interior was dark, lit only by the team's flashlights. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air smelled like burnt metal. In what appeared to be the control room, they found a dead Vraxian. The alien was tall and thin, with 4 arms and tough, leathery skin. It wore some kind of breathing apparatus now broken. Oxygen, Chris said, examining readings from his equipment. They can't breathe our air. It's toxic to them. Paul searched the ship's computer, downloading all the data he could find onto a special device designed by Dr. White. We need to get this back to headquarters, he said. This could change everything. At a military base in North Virginia, Commander Linda Hayes was coordinating with international forces. Representatives from 20 countries sat around a large table, planning Earth's defense. The Chinese Air Force will support defensive positions in the Pacific, said a Chinese general. Russian submarines will provide backup for the Atlantic Fleet, added a Russian admiral. Linda nodded, marking the deployments on a digital map. It was unprecedented. Countries that had been enemies for decades now working together against a common threat. The Vraxians will enter Earth's atmosphere in 36 hours, she reminded everyone. We need to be ready. A young lieutenant rushed into the room. Commander Hayes, Major Bennett's team has returned. They found a crashed alien ship and brought back data. Hope flashed across Linda's face. What did they find? The aliens can't breathe our air, the lieutenant reported. And Dr. White says their ships have weaker shields than we thought. She's already working on exploiting the weaknesses they found. For the first time since the crisis began, Linda felt a small spark of hope. Tell all commands, we might have found a way to fight back. In the Galactic Council chamber, the mood was changing from somber observation to surprised respect. They found a crashed ship and extracted useful data in just hours, Mithran said with disbelief. And they're exploiting the weaknesses already, added another counselor. Zix Tao nodded, a strange expression on his alien face. The Vraxians thought they were hunting. They didn't realize they were poking a hive of Earth's most dangerous species. The Vraxian main fleet entered Earth's orbit at dawn. Hundreds of ships, each 10 times larger than the Scouts, filled the sky like dark stars. People around the world looked up and felt fear grip their hearts. The first attack came without warning. A wave of energy spread across the planet, meant to disable all electronic devices. The Vraxians expected Earth to go dark, leaving humans helpless and confused. But Earth was ready. After the scout ship encounter, key military bases and communication centers had been shielded against such attacks. As the pulse washed over the planet, most civilian electronics failed, but military systems remained operational. In an underground bunker, Dr. Carol White watched her screens carefully. They used an electromagnetic pulse, just as we predicted, she reported to General Rogers. Our shields worked. The general nodded. Launch countermeasure Alpha. Dr. White pressed a series of buttons. Around the world, special transmitters began broadcasting on the frequency her team had discovered from the crashed scout ship. The signal was designed to interfere with Vraxian weapon systems. In the skies above, Lieutenant John Russell piloted his fighter jet toward the alien fleet. He led a squadron of 30 jets, each equipped with new weapons designed based on the alien technology. "Remember, aim for their engine sections," he told his pilots. "Their shields are weakest there." As they approached the alien ships, John expected heavy resistance. But something strange happened. Several Vraxian vessels seemed to drift, their weapons silent. "The frequency disruptors are working," he shouted. "Attack pattern Delta, now." The Earth fighters swarmed around the disabled alien ships, firing their missiles at the vulnerable spots. One after another, Vraxian vessels exploded or fell from the sky. In the Galactic Council chamber, the mood shifted from concern to amazement. "They adapted our technology in days," gasped Counselor Mithran. "How is this possible?" Zix Tao leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the battle. "In all my cycles, I've never seen a Level 3 civilization mount such an organized defense against a Level 5 invader." Another counselor, Vorx, shook his head in disbelief. "They're actually winning." "Not yet," cautioned Zix Tao. "The Vraxians will adapt too." On the Vraxian command ship, Supreme War Leader Kroll slammed his 4 fists on the control panel. The attack was not going as planned. Nearly 20% of his fleet had already been lost. "How did these primitives develop countermeasures so quickly?" he demanded. His science officer looked nervous. "They must have studied our scout ship, the one that crashed." Kroll growled, a sound that made his subordinates step back in fear. "Change all weapon frequencies. Prepare the ground forces. If we cannot destroy them from orbit, we will crush them on their own soil." Back on Earth, the celebration was brief. The frequency disruptors suddenly stopped working as the Vraxians adjusted their systems. "They're adapting," Dr. White warned. "We need more time to recalibrate." General Rogers looked grim. "We hurt them, but not enough. Prepare for ground invasion." In military bases around the world, soldiers readied themselves for combat against an enemy from beyond the stars. Among them was Sergeant Olivia Martinez, who checked her rifle one last time. "Never thought I'd be fighting aliens," said a young soldier beside her. Olivia smiled grimly. "Doesn't matter where they're from. Nobody invades our home without a fight." Above them, the sky lit up with new explosions as the Vraxian fleet prepared for the next phase of their attack. Despite Earth's unexpected resistance, the aliens still had the advantage in technology and numbers. Lieutenant Russell and his remaining fighters retreated to refuel and rearm. "They're launching something," he reported as his radar detected hundreds of small objects descending toward Earth. Dr. White studied the data from her lab. "Dropships," she confirmed. "They're sending in ground troops." Commander Hayes updated the global defense map. "They're targeting military installations in Nevada, Siberia, and Australia. All forces in those areas prepare for immediate contact." As the drop ships fell like meteors toward Earth, The Galactic Council watched in growing amazement. The first wave failed, noted Counselor Vorks with surprise. The Vraxians actually failed. The ground war will be different, said another counselor. Humans cannot match Vraxian combat technology. Zixta clasped his hands together. Perhaps, but the Vraxians are about to learn another lesson about humans. They don't just fight with technology. They fight with courage and cunning. And that makes them very dangerous indeed. The Vraxian dropships landed with earth-shaking force. Their metal doors opened, releasing soldiers in heavy armor. Each alien stood 7 feet tall, with 4 arms holding advanced weapons. They expected to find terrified humans running away. Instead, they found Earth's defenders waiting for them. In the Nevada desert, Sergeant Olivia Martinez led her squad from their hidden positions as soon as the aliens emerged. They had dug into the landscape, using the natural terrain as cover. "Remember your training," she told her soldiers over the radio. "Aim for their breathing gear." The aliens moved forward in perfect formation, scanning the desert with glowing visors. They didn't notice the small devices buried in the sand until it was too late. Olivia pressed a button on her wrist controller. Dozens of electromagnetic pulse mines activated at once. The aliens' weapons flickered and died. Their communication systems failed. "Now," Olivia shouted. Her soldiers rose from their hiding places and opened fire. The bullets couldn't penetrate the alien armor completely, but they damaged the breathing apparatus each Vraxian wore. The aliens began to choke on Earth's air, which was like poison to them. Similar battles played out in Siberia and Australia. The aliens had superior technology, but humans knew their land. They used guerrilla tactics, striking fast and disappearing before the Vraxians could respond. In the Galactic Council chamber, the observers watched with growing amazement. "They're fighting like cornered beasts," said Counselor Vorks, but with strategic precision. Security Director Xol nodded. The Vraxians calculated based on technology level, not fighting spirit. They expected the humans to surrender once they saw their advanced weapons. "A costly mistake," Zixta noted. "Humans throughout their history have defeated technologically superior forces through adaptation and sheer determination." Back on Earth, Dr. Alan Miller and Dr. Susan Grant worked with Dr. Carol White in a secure laboratory. They studied the data from the crashed scout ship and the aliens' breathing apparatus recovered from the battlefield. "Their respiratory system is completely different from ours," Carol explained, examining a damaged alien mask. "They breathe a methane-rich mixture. Our oxygen is corrosive to their lungs." Alan looked thoughtful. "Can we use that?" "I think so," Carol replied. "We could develop a biological agent that targets their breathing system specifically, something that would force them to retreat without killing them." Susan raised an eyebrow. "Without killing them? They're trying to conquer us." "We're better than them," Carol said firmly. "We defend, not destroy." At the Nevada battle site, Olivia's squad had defeated the first wave of alien soldiers, but more dropships were landing. They needed to retreat and regroup. "Fall back to position Bravo," she ordered. Her soldiers grabbed what alien technology they could carry and disappeared into the network of caves they had prepared. Inside the main cave, a communications officer approached her. "Sergeant, Command reports similar successes in Siberia and Australia. The aliens are taking heavy losses." Olivia nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. "What about the rest of the world?" "The Vraxians are focusing on military targets first. They didn't expect such resistance. It's buying us time." On the Vraxian command ship, Supreme War Leader Krull received the battle reports with growing rage. "How are these primitives defeating our elite troops?" he demanded. His second-in-command looked nervous. "They know their terrain, War Leader, and they've discovered our weakness to their atmosphere. Then we will change our strategy," Krull decided. "No more small attacks. We will make an example. Target their largest population centers. Force them to surrender or watch their cities burn. In a secure bunker, World leaders received the latest intelligence. Our sources indicate the Vraxians are planning to escalate, General Rogers reported. They're positioning their main weapons platform over Chicago. President Howard looked grim. Casualties. Potential millions if they fire from orbit, the general replied. We need a new plan. Commander Linda Hayes stepped forward. Sir, we've captured several alien shuttlecraft intact. Dr. White has figured out how to operate them. I propose a direct assault on their command ship. That's suicide, someone protested. Linda shook her head. Not if we use what we've learned about their technology. Dr. White has developed a new countermeasure that could disable their flagship long enough for a small team to board it. The president considered this for a long moment. How many people would you need? The massive Vraxian flagship hung over Chicago like a dark cloud. Its shadow fell across the city's famous skyline, turning day into night. Most civilians had been evacuated, but millions remained in the surrounding areas, unable to escape in time. From the flagship, Supreme War Leader Kroll broadcast his message to Earth's leaders. Your resistance is pointless. His translated voice boomed from every working electronic device. Surrender now, or watch this city burn. You have 3 hours to decide. In a secret hangar outside of Chicago, Commander Linda Hayes briefed her small team. Captain Eric Daniels, Major Paul Bennett, Dr. Carol White, and Sergeant Olivia Martinez listened carefully to the plan. We have 3 captured Vraxian shuttles, Linda explained, pointing to the alien craft. They've been modified with our frequency disruptors. We'll approach the flagship as if we're returning from the surface. Won't they detect us? Olivia asked. Dr. White shook her head. Not if we use their own identification codes. We recovered them from the crashed scout ship. Paul examined the blueprint of the flagship, created from scans and intelligence. Once we're aboard, we need to reach their central command module. It's heavily guarded. That's where I come in, Olivia said, patting a backpack full of special equipment. I've fought these aliens hand to hand. I know their weaknesses. Eric studied the mission timeline. We'll have exactly 45 minutes before they realize something's wrong and lock down the ship. And if we succeed? He asked. Linda's expression was determined. We take control of their weapons systems, disable them, and capture War Leader Kroll if possible. The team began their final preparations. Each wore a custom suit designed to blend in with Vraxian technology. Dr. White carried her newest invention, a device that could override the flagship's security systems. In the Galactic Council chamber, the mood shifted from amazement to alarm. The Vraxians are preparing to destroy a major population center, reported Councillor Mithran. We cannot allow this. Several councillors rose to their feet, calling for intervention. Elder Councillor Zixta raised his hand for silence. We have observed for thousands of years without interfering, he reminded them. Our laws are clear. But millions will die, protested a younger councillor. Zixta nodded solemnly. Watch and learn. Humans are not what you think they are. The display showed 3 small shuttles rising from Earth, heading toward the Vraxian flagship. Back on Earth, the president addressed the remaining leaders in the bunker. We cannot surrender, but we cannot sacrifice Chicago either. Our best hope is Hayes and her team. General Rogers checked his watch. They should be approaching the flagship now. The 3 shuttles docked with the Vraxian flagship without incident. The alien bay operators saw returning shuttles with proper identification codes and opened the doors automatically. Once inside, the team moved quickly. They wore captured Vraxian armor over their suits, allowing them to move through the ship without immediate detection. Remember, we need to reach level 7, Linda reminded them through their secure comms. That's where the weapon control center is located. They encountered the first group of Vraxian soldiers at a security checkpoint. Olivia stepped forward, speaking in broken Vraxian phrases they had learned from the recordings. The aliens hesitated, confused by her accent. It was all the time they needed. Dr. White activated a small device that emitted the same frequency that had disabled their weapons earlier. The alien systems flickered, and the team moved in quickly, subduing them without raising an alarm. "We have 20 minutes left," Eric warned as they reached level 5. On level 6, they ran into more resistance. A squad of elite Vraxian guards blocked their path to the final elevator. There was no way to avoid a fight. "Plan B," Linda ordered. Paul and Olivia moved forward, throwing small devices that filled the corridor with thick smoke. The Vraxians' breathing masks filtered it out, but they couldn't see. The team used special visors that allowed them to see through the smoke, giving them the advantage. The fight was brief but intense. Olivia moved like a dancer between the aliens, striking at the vulnerable joints in their armor. Paul and Eric used modified weapons that disrupted the alien systems rather than killing them. "Clear," Olivia called finally. "But they definitely know we're here now." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship as they reached the final elevator to level 7. 10 minutes, Eric said tensely. Dr. White worked quickly on the elevator controls. "I can get us up there, but we'll have a welcoming committee." Linda nodded. "We're ready." As the elevator rose toward level 7, toward the heart of the Vraxians, the elevator doors opened to chaos. Vraxian soldiers fired at the small team from behind makeshift barriers. Linda and her team ducked behind the elevator walls as energy blasts filled the air. "We need a distraction," Linda said, looking at Dr. White. Carol nodded and pulled a small device from her bag. "Cover your eyes," she warned before tossing it into the room. The flash was blinding, even with their eyes closed. The Vraxians screamed as their sensitive vision was overloaded. The team rushed forward, moving through the temporarily blinded aliens. Paul and Olivia disabled the guards while Eric and Linda secured the path to the control center. "The weapons control room is just ahead," Carol said, checking the small scanner. "But there's a problem. The door is sealed." Linda looked at the massive metal door blocking their way. "Can you open it?" "Yes, but it will take time," Carol replied, already connecting her device to the alien control panel. "Time is something we don't have," Eric said, checking his watch. 3 minutes until they target Chicago. Inside the control room, Supreme War Leader Krull watched the countdown with satisfaction. The humans had not surrendered. Now they would witness the price of defiance. "Begin final targeting sequence," he ordered. Outside the door, Carol worked frantically on the lock. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she connected wires and entered commands on her device. "Almost there," she muttered. The door suddenly slid open, surprising everyone. They rushed in, weapons ready, but the room was more massive than they expected. Dozens of Vraxian officers worked at control stations while Krull stood on a raised platform in the center. "Humans," he snarled, his 4 arms reaching for weapons. "How dare you enter my ship?" Olivia didn't waste time talking. She fired her weapon at the main control panel, damaging it. Alarms blared as the targeting system went offline. Chaos erupted in the control room. Vraxian officers drew weapons while others tried to repair the damage. The human team split up, each member following their part of the plan. Carol ran to a secondary control panel and connected her device. Her fingers flew over the alien keyboard as she uploaded a virus designed to disable the ship's weapons. "It's working," she called out. "I'm in their system." Linda and Eric provided cover fire while Paul made his way toward War Leader Krull. The Vraxian commander was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with armor thicker than his soldiers. "Surrender your ship," Paul demanded, aiming his weapon at Krull's head. Krull laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "You think you can defeat the might of the Vraxian Empire with 5 humans?" "We already have," Linda replied, moving to join Paul. "Your weapons are disabled. Your communications are next." On Earth, military leaders watched with amazement as the flagship's weapons powered down. The threat to Chicago faded. "They did it," General Rogers whispered. "They actually did it." The president turned to his communications officer. Send the signal. Tell all forces, the counterattack begins now. Around the world, Earth's military forces launched their assault on the distracted Vraxian fleet. Earth scientists had worked tirelessly to adapt the alien technology captured in earlier battles. Now, modified jets and missiles targeted the vulnerable points on the Vraxian ships. On the flagship, Carol completed her upload. I've got it. I have their defensive codes. Transmitting to Earth now. The codes would allow Earth's weapons to bypass the Vraxian shields, turning the tide of the battle. Kroll roared with rage and lunged at Paul, his 4 arms reaching out like deadly snakes. But Olivia appeared from the side, firing a special dart into a gap in his armor. The sedative was designed for Vraxian physiology, based on samples collected from the battlefield. The massive alien stumbled, then fell to his knees. What have you done? He gasped. Defended our home, Olivia replied simply. In the Galactic Council chamber, silence gave way to murmurs of disbelief. They've captured the war leader, Counselor Mithran said in amazement, and disabled the flagship. They've adapted Vraxian technology in days, added another counselor. How is this possible? Zixta turned to Mithran with an expression that might have been a smile. This is why we have always watched Earth from a distance. Back on the flagship, Linda opened a communication channel to Earth. Mission accomplished. The flagship is secured. War leader Kroll is our prisoner. The cheer that erupted from the command center on Earth could almost be heard in space. The tide had turned. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were fighting back. 3 days after the capture of the Vraxian flagship, Earth looked very different. The skies were clearer as most of the alien fleet had been driven back beyond Mars. Scientists around the world worked day and night to understand and adapt the alien technology. The Vraxian flagship, now under human control, hovered in orbit as a symbol of humanity's unexpected victory. But the war wasn't over. Reports indicated the remaining Vraxian ships were regrouping at the edge of the solar system, preparing for another attack. On the captured flagship, renamed Earth's Hope, Captain Eric Daniels stood on the bridge. The alien controls had been modified for human use, with Dr. Carol White's team working miracles to understand the complex systems. Status report. Eric called to his crew, a mix of military personnel and scientists from around the world. All systems operational, Captain, replied his new first officer. We're ready to move on your command. Commander Linda Hayes entered the bridge, accompanied by Dr. Alan Miller. They had been studying the ship's database, learning everything they could about the Vraxians and the wider galaxy. The Council is real, Alan explained excitedly. There are over 50 species in the Galactic Council, and they've been watching Earth for centuries. Linda nodded, and they have laws against interfering with developing worlds like ours. That's why they didn't help us against the Vraxians. Their loss is our gain, Eric said. We've learned more from this battle than we would have in 100 years of peaceful development. The ship's communicator beeped. Captain, we're receiving a message from Earth Command. The main screen showed General Rogers and the President. Captain Daniels, we've made a decision, the President said. We're sending you to the edge of the solar system to confront the remaining Vraxian fleet. Should we engage them, sir? Eric asked. The President shook his head. No, we want to send a message, not just to the Vraxians, but to this Galactic Council as well. We know they're watching. In the Council chamber, the 12 representatives had not left their posts for days. They watched in fascination as humans quickly mastered alien technology that should have taken decades to understand. They're moving the captured flagship, reported Counselor Mithran, heading toward the remaining Vraxian forces. Are they planning to attack? Asked a concerned counselor. Zixta leaned forward. Let us see what humans do when they have the upper hand. Earth's Hope moved through space with growing confidence. The crew had practiced with the ship systems and found them remarkably easy to adapt to. The Vraxian prisoner, Supreme War Leader Kroll, watched from a secure holding cell as humans piloted his flagship with increasing skill. Impossible, he muttered. Primitives cannot learn so quickly. As they approached the edge of the solar system, they detected the remaining Vraxian fleet. Nearly 70 ships gathered in formation, preparing for another assault on Earth. Open a channel, Eric ordered. To all Vraxian ships. The communications officer worked the controls. Channel open. Sir, they can hear you. Eric stepped forward. This is Captain Eric Daniels of Earth vessel Earth's Hope, formerly the Vraxian flagship. We wish to deliver a message. On the main screen, Dr. Miller and Commander Hayes joined him. Hayes spoke clearly, knowing her words would reach not only the Vraxians, but also the Watching Council. We did not ask for this war. We did not want this war, but we will finish it if necessary. Earth is not a prize to be taken, not a resource to be harvested. We are humanity, and we will defend our home with everything we have. However, we also offer peace to those who respect our sovereignty. There was a long silence. Then a reply came from the Vraxian fleet. You have our war leader. You have our flagship. What prevents us from destroying you now? Miller stepped forward. Look at what we've accomplished in days. Imagine what we could do with weeks or months. We don't want to fight, but we will if forced. Another long silence followed. Then, one by one, the Vraxian ships began to turn away from Earth. Their engines glowed as they accelerated, heading out of the solar system. In the council chamber, a vote was called. For the first time in 5,000 years, the council in the council chamber, a vote was called. For the first time in 5,000 years, the council changed the status of a world unanimously. Earth is now classified as a protected world, announced the council leader, not due to its primitive status, but due to its potential danger if provoked further. As the council session ended, Elder Counselor Zixta made a final note in Earth's file. Humanity. Approach with caution and respect. Their classification as a developing species was our gravest error. They are not what they appear to be. And woe to those who mistake their kindness for weakness or their peaceful nature for inability to wage war. On Earth's Hope, the crew celebrated as they watched the Vraxian fleet retreat. A message appeared on their communications system, the first official contact from the Galactic Council. Captain, said the communications officer, I think we've just been invited to join the stars. Jed the status of a world unanimously. Earth is now classified as a protected world, announced the council leader, not due to its primitive status, but due to its potential danger if provoked further. As the council session ended, Elder Counselor Zixta made a final note in Earth's file. Humanity. Approach with caution and respect. Their classification as a developing species was our gravest error. They are not what they appear to be. And woe to those who mistake their kindness for weakness or their peaceful nature for inability to wage war. On Earth's Hope, the crew celebrated as they watched the Vraxian fleet retreat. A message appeared on their communications system, the first official contact from the Galactic Council. Captain, said the communications officer, I think we've just been invited to join the stars.